Welcome back, everybody. My name is Ken. This is Brian. We're on
up?
episode number 25 of Clicks and Bricks. Before we get into it, if you want to give me a text, I'm super excited because my text community is growing. 314-370-2871. I finally remembered the number because you guys are starting to subscribe. You'll get tips and tricks and business ideas and things like that. The latest thing that I'm really into is NFTs. So it might be some NFT and crypto talk. That's been one of my big hobbies as of the last few weeks again. So hit me up. Just text any question to that line, and I'll try to get you an answer. But then I'll also kick you motivational stuff and things like that. So
absolutely. And then you can hit my text line, Brian,
up at 314-216-2040. You can text me things like topics you want us to talk about on our podcast, questions that you have. It could be about a podcast, it could be a question in general that you just want answered for business. And let's go ahead and get started here.
Awesome.
Get started here. So, today,
Nick's got an interesting topic for us today.
Yes, today's topic is setting business goals and life goals. And shout out to Hosterian here, Clicks and Bricks. We're 25% on all the way to our goal, to 100 episodes. So we're rocking and rolling, feeling good, feeling strong.
we made a commitment to doing 100 episodes of Clicks and Bricks when we first started. I think our episodes, you tell us, I think our episodes are getting better quality, better video.
I would say so.
I think the content, the entertainment's always been top notch.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No questions asked there.
But, we go from there. So,
okay.
Let us know if you want us to improve something. We've got a new layout in the studio.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. We need to figure out a fan because it's hot as heck in here.
Yes. And I run hot.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem.
And I don't. It's definitely muggy in here. But if you see us sweating today, that's why. Summer's definitely here in St. Louis.
Yes.
And it's starting to get muggy fast. So.
Yes. So shoot us some comments. Let us know if you like the layout or you don't, right? And then don't forget to subscribe. No matter where you're listening to
this podcast that are watching on YouTube or whatnot, hit subscribe, give us all the stars and rate us. Rate us how you believe we should be rated. Okay. All right. So let's get started. All right. So we always start with Between the Cubicles, and today Between the Cubicles is brought to you by nlink.com. Nlink is rapport made easy. It's one spot for you to put all your social media profiles for your business in one spot. I mean, it's pretty much easier than that. And the best part about it is that it's free.
My link is nlink.com/Ken. Get your nlink today.
All right, and mine is nlink.com/Brian Montgomery Jr. Okay, check us out.
So somebody should go grab Brian and really make him mad.
I have Brian. I just didn't do all the things.
Oh, okay.
I need to update it, so I'm doing that one for now.
Okay.
All right. All right. So Between the Cubicles today is my trip and my favorite part of my trip, a recap of my trip last week.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So my trip was to Cannon Beach, Oregon, and then I also went to Seattle, Washington as well. It was really a lot of fun. I was blown away about the trees. I know it sounds weird.
What about the trees?
They're huge. It looks so much different. Yeah, it's so much different than trees here, and they're so tall. And it's so crazy to me how most of them don't even have branches till they're 3 or 4 stories up.
Right.
So it's just it's crazy, looking at that, trying to compare it to the trees we have here. Because I'm when I was growing up, I used to love climbing trees. That was a big part of my childhood, right? Building tree houses and stuff like that. No girls allowed, that was fun.
The He-Man She-Haters Club?
Yeah, we had one, dude. We did. So that was really cool. And it was really awesome to be at the beach and be at the place where, the Goonies were shot at.
Yeah.
To be out there, definitely a lot colder than I thought it was going to be. Definitely a lot colder.
Yeah.
But I dressed pretty well for it. My friends, great host. They definitely took care of us when we were there. He did all the driving, so first time in my life I went someplace I didn't drive at all.
Nice.
Which is this is a good vacation, really, I guess you can call it. And then I would also say the people there were really cool, and the food was amazing. They eat well over there on the coast, man. They eat well. We had some French toast from this place called Yoked, and it was so good. One of my friends, she asked, how do you make this? They're the cook won't tell us.
Yeah, I had the best pizza I've ever had in my life, and I love pizza. It was in Portland.
Man,
So-
they eat good over there, man. And so if you're looking for a place to go, you want to just eat.
Oregon and Washington will take care of you, I promise you. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it doesn't matter. It's a great time. Right, but another thing I just want to kind of ad-lib here, you had a pretty exciting weekend too, last week.
Yeah, my family was fun. I have, I'm opening a new business. Actually opening.
Grand opening. We had the soft opening last week. We're gonna have a grand opening in about a month from now, like the big ribbon cutting party.
Right.
So we're still working out some kinks in the audio systems and stuff like that.
That's exciting, though.
Yeah, and we're creating some teams. I'm taking a different route with boxing. So, I used to own a title boxing club. Now we're starting a new company, which is going to have. We're going to go and get some pro fighters and create some teams and
That's
stuff
awesome.
like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited about it. I love having a ring
Yes.
that I can get into and really really simulate that thing. But last week I had a pretty bad accident and I
Ran a drill bit, a half-inch drill bit into my hand. I got some pretty bad nerve damage. Can't feel my fingers.
And that's why you couldn't clap.
I can't start the show anymore right now because I got a giant cut in my hand, and the doctor says I may never get feeling back in a couple of my fingers, or one of my fingers, my middle finger.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
But we'll see what happens. I don't want to do the transplant.
It's not that serious.
It's not that. I mean, no feeling in my finger, and the surgery is kind of iffy, right? Like,
Got
I
it.
could not do surgery and maybe get some feeling back, or I could do surgery and still maybe not be successful. So
Got it.
it's a big risk either way. So I'm just gonna let it heal and then make my decision later. I talked to a couple of surgeons already, and I don't need to feel my hands.
You just keep an eye on it, make sure it's
Yeah, I mean, I can type good still, right? So I can still type. I'm not all my motion. It's still swollen, but I can type. And they say I can get my hand back in a boxing glove in about 2 weeks.
There you go, 2 weeks out.
2 weeks out, May 10th. Which really sucks because if you've been watching the show, I was out for 6 months from August until I think March.
It keeps pushing it further and
Right,
further.
because I had a whole multiple surgeries on my shoulder, so I don't want to do another surgery right now because I just recovered from one. And
Right.
I'm released to go back to compete in boxing again this August. So if I did another surgery,
So push that back
it
in.
would push it out, and that's going to push my entire. I don't want to call it my boxing career, but my boxing hobby at least. So
I mean, if you go pro, it's
Career, man, regardless if it's
We'll
one
see what
fight or
happens.
100.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my week. I had a pretty bad injury, but we keep moving forward, right?
This is
I've
what
got
happens.
two mantras in life: get to work and keep moving forward. And
This is what happens when I leave. You heard me.
Yeah.
All right. So
so
that's
today I'm struggling a little bit. I'm sorry. Had a little bit of celebration last night for the soft opening, and I didn't get home until it was almost time to go to work. So we're making it through the day, right?
move forward, right?
Yes,
Moving forward.
Never look back.
Awesome. So let's get started here today.
Hey everyone. So again, our topic is setting business goals and life goals. We're going to talk about that today and see kind of where that takes us.
Yeah.
And before we actually do that, you mentioned something earlier about like you don't really like business goals.
I don't like goals.
I don't like the word goals because it has a weird indication on it. I think that's the right way to say it.
It definitely has a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I prefer milestones than goals. So when you're on milestones and you're working on milestones, it's just easier to manage the expectations, right? So
Absolutely.
coming from when I was younger, I started, and if you watch the show, that I started when in my late teens, early 20s in the entertainment industry. So the show must go on. You can't miss deadlines. All of those things. And what I found out, or what I realized, is that if you set that really strict timeline, you have to compromise in places sometimes, right?
Right.
So, and you have to compromise not
Only sometimes you compromise your product, and if you're not willing to, and you shouldn't be willing to compromise your product, if you're not willing to do that, then you're at minimum
compromising your staff by pushing them too hard, right? And if you've ever worked with me, I don't have any problem with pushing my staff hard, right? But I do have a problem with pushing them past burnout, right?
Yeah.
And that's bad. So it's really important to know your staff, know who they are. Because if you're a business, your staff is a big investment. Every time that you hire somebody, it's not only a financial investment; it's a huge time investment. It's it's a burden on the entire company to get this person trained and up and all of those things. So, I don't want to say, hey, you have to be, if you hired a new person, you say you have to be 100% ready in 2 weeks. That's not great, right? You say, okay, these are the things that you need to know before you can get on the phones and represent my company, right? And then you can kind of gauge on, okay, well, this person's taken 7 weeks to get it done. Got to go, right? But if you set a goal of 2 weeks, what I've also found is I said, hey, you have to have this read and understand it in 2 weeks and you're taking a test. Well, it takes 10 people 2 weeks to do it, but there's 3 or 4 people that are bored out of their mind, twiddling their thumbs. They got it done in 2 days. So if I set those goals and those timelines that way, then I'm losing productivity on both sides. And somebody that could that would be more methodical might take him 2 weeks and 3 days to get it, but since he didn't hit his deadline, I fired him. I don't like that. So I like milestones a lot better.
That's very interesting because
it changes my mindset. Hey, I have to get here, and when I get here, then I can do. I told you this morning, just eat what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about 9 steps away? Just eat what's in front of you right now. Right. And when you're done with that meal, eat the next meal.
Right.
So I like managing. I prefer to manage business that way than saying, here's the goal. Now, obviously, you always have goals, but I like goals as farther out things, not the.
I like to use both. I like to have a goal, and to my goal, I'm reaching my milestones. Let me know that I'm working towards my goal. Because you need those small victories. Because your goal should be something huge, right?
Well,
or for me, I like your goal to be huge.
Yeah. So, and I would say when I finally realized that I didn't like goals, when I said I'm not setting any more goals because they're stupid, I want milestones.
Right.
Is because also when you hit a goal, you stop.
And that's why I like milestones.
Right? So I had a goal when I was younger. I want to make $100,000 a year. Right? And I got there, right? I'm over that now, but there was a long time that I got there and I'm like, whoo, I made it. And sat back. And when I realized that I coasted through life for about 5 or 6 years.
Oh man, that's a long time, dude.
Well, I hit my goal. Right?
Like I made it.
I hit my goal. What am I going to do?
Look, right? I made it.
At one point, I set a goal to get down to 220 pounds. Right, I was 340 pounds. Get down to 220. Mm-hmm. Not near 220 right now. I'm more like 260, but I'm on my way back down. But what I found out is that I got to 220 and I stopped, and I stayed there for about 15 years. Right, which is a good run. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't realize is that had I would have set a milestone of get to 220 and not a goal, I probably wouldn't have stopped. And then I would have got to 220 and was like, okay, now how do I turn this into muscle? Or how do I do this? Or how do I do, what's the next step? And these goals are like this definitive stopping point. And if you have definitive stopping points, guess what you don't do?
Nothing.
You don't move forward.
Man,
you stop.
That's also funny you say that because like I've never had that perspective when it comes to goals. Like okay. I didn't have it for, I like small victories on my way to my goal just to keep my confidence up because like, your confidence is everything. If you have the right mindset, you're going to go through all kinds of shit.
Right.
Right. But every time I've hit my goal, I'm like, all right, what's the next
goal? Because I like impress myself, like, damn, I can't believe I got there. What else can I do? Maybe think about it for a second, right? Yeah. So that's how I always looked at goals. But that's interesting that you have a completely different perspective. Because you're like, oh, this made me stop. I made it. Right? Like, and I bet more people do that. I bet.
I think they do. So if I just get rid of goals and just
have milestones, and I never have a concept of stopping anymore.
Interesting.
Right? And I did before. When I'd set a goal, I would get to that goal, and then I go into cruise control.
That's very interesting. I never thought about it like
that.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we go to our
first question, if you're listening to this podcast, comment. All right. I want to know what about you guys. How do you guys think about goals and milestones? Like.
What's a goal that you set that you missed, or what's a goal that you set that you got too
fast?
Yeah. Or maybe you hit a goal and did you stop?
Yeah.
Did you have that same thing that Kim ran into? I would love to hear your guys' feedback on that. I think that's a very interesting topic. All right, so moving along, Dylan. Dylan asks,
I read about business owners on both sides of the goal setting debate. Some do not do it. Some swear by it. Which are you both and why?
I don't. I set milestones.
Set goals. Mm-hmm. And I set milestones and set expectations are the two kind of goal-oriented things that I like to work on. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do have goals, but they're goals like when I get to here, I'm going to do this, right? So, but that's really more of a milestone in my mind. Like,
Very
okay,
much like a milestone.
I can't sell that business until it has 1 million views, 1 million visitors.
Well, it's like most of your goals or most of your milestones are to get to the next step.
Yes.
It's literally a stepping stone to the next spot.
My only goal in life is to die. That's
You're
my
gonna
last
do
goal.
that. You're gonna do that.
I'm gonna do that, right? So
that's done.
everything between here and then is milestones in my book. So
interesting.
and then my expectation is to keep moving forward, to keep working.
Very interesting.
I'm trying to simplify it really.
I mean, you
really
pretty much did that, man. You were a Jeep guy through and through. Through and through. And for me, like, I guess I do both. I love having milestones just to keep, I'm all about the mindset. I mean, being able to take control of my mind and keep myself focused when life happens, when you have some losses that put you down, you have all these kind of things that get in your way, to get out of that emotional state of my mind where I'm just like, oh, can I do this or will I do it? Like, to turn off that internal dialogue. Right. That's why I love the milestones too. And I like goals because, I don't know, man, sometimes I kind of feel like I'm like a work dog, right? I need a job. Right? Like, if you ever had like a husky or something, they're work dogs. If they don't have something
I
to
have
do,
a work dog now. It's ridiculous.
They need a job.
Yeah.
They need a job to do, and it sucks if they don't have a job. Yeah. They'll tear your house up, man.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I get into that mentality where I'm just like, I'm working, head down. And what I like about goals is that it helps me sometimes lift my head up. Lift my head up and look at the bigger picture and not just what's in front of me. Talk, okay, I know this is in front of me, but I want to walk towards that direction. And it helps me do that.
So you like it as a guide?
Yes, that's a great way. I don't like goals. I like guides.
Okay. To me, I look at goals more like when I've set a goal, I never say we have this goal. I just think it hinders everything, right? So, but I say I do like deadlines. Right, I'm going to have this done by this date. Is that a goal? Is a deadline and a goal the same thing?
No, that's a deadline.
Okay.
That's really just about the time. Now, your goal can be a deadline, but your deadline may not be the goal.
Okay, that's too
too deep. Too deep.
Yeah. All elephants are gray, but not all great things are elephants.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Dylan, I hope that
answers your question. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just about you and what you're trying to get accomplished, your personality, your life, the journey you are in, where you are in your life. No one can tell you right or wrong, man. Like, it just comes down to you really knowing yourself and how to motivate yourself, how to keep yourself focused, right?
Absolutely. That's great advice.
If goal setting works for you, use it. If milestones work better for you, use them. Right? If deadlines work better for you, I know guys that if I set a deadline for them, they fall apart. Right? They're like, I can get that later. And then one of my mentors at one point said, the greatest thing about waiting till the last second to do something?
What's that?
It only takes a second to do it. Right? So if you wait till the last second to get it done, then you can get it done really fast. It's probably shitty work, but you get it done quickly. So, and I think setting goals and deadlines like that, it breeds that kind of behavior.
It can, absolutely. Because I think most people procrastinate by nature.
I think it's a habit of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get that done later. I'll get that done later.
Yeah, you got so much stuff on your plate, like, okay, I got time. I'm just going to focus on this part here.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's how you get things done. And say, okay, I'm going to focus on this, then that, then that. You got to keep moving. And that's what the milestones do for you, is keep you moving forward.
Yes.
Right? So at the end of the day, you have to keep moving. But again, just like Ken said, whatever works for you, go for it. Okay?
Yeah, there's, in business and in life, there are thousands of variables that are out of your control.
Yes.
Right? On the best day, there's 1,000 variables that are out of your control, right? You can drill a hole in your hand, you can get a car accident, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? Your car can break down and you got 3 or 4 hours to get it towed to do all that stuff. So, if that doesn't mean you failed, right? It just means, something came up in my life and I had to make a change. So, and to me, goals is a very definitive thing, right?
It definitely comes with a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. So I just work better without that pressure of a goal.
I think most people work better without pressure.
Yeah.
There are some people that do thrive in that.
I mean, I have built-in anxiety of not getting enough done anyway, and I think
you're good, or that you've had enough.
There are people in the world that work more hours than me, that work harder than me, absolutely. But I probably work more than half the country, at least, right?
You work a lot, man.
I work 12 to 15 hours a day on average.
You really don't stop.
Right? And
your free time, you enjoy working, so like you work.
Well, I work as a hobby. My hobby is to work as well, right?
Yeah,
so, and that's, do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Right.
That's my life. And
that's awesome.
I wake up, I come here, I goof off, I play with the internet, I deal with customers, I do all my tech stuff for 8 hours, and then I go to the gym and I do my boxing stuff for 8 hours. Now, I've not been doing that lately, but hopefully I won't injure myself again in the next 2 weeks, and I'll be back to the real world.
Watch you mess up the other hand.
Yeah,
both your hands are messed up.
But I still have stuff to do. So, it's just a weird thing. But
so, hope they answer your question there, Dylan.
Yes.
All right, let's keep it moving along. Rod asks, do you think that setting a goal to do 100
podcasts, no matter what, has helped push you both to be every week, no matter what? Let me reread that.
Do you think that setting a goal to do 100 podcasts, no matter what, has helped push you both? To be here every week, no matter what.
Right. So, I mean, we're here every week no matter what anyway, right? Yeah. So what it definitely has helped us to do is when we had technical difficulty and stuff like that, to say, you know what, we have to do the episode, doesn't matter.
We got to figure it out.
Right? So what we knew going in is that we didn't know how to do podcasts.
Yes.
We knew that going in. So
we knew very little.
And then I have just a general rule of thumb on automation that if I'm going to try to automate something, I want to do it manually 100 times to make sure that when I implement the automation that it actually works. So that's where the concept of 100 episodes that we were committing to
came from.
And I said, I think I used committed 100 goals, or 100 episodes.
Yeah,
I think we said
for the very beginning, we almost every episode said we were committing to 100.
We're committing to 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's not a goal even, it's a milestone because we've committed to 100 episodes. And now at episode 25, I mean, I don't see us stopping.
I enjoy doing the podcast.
I don't see us stopping anytime soon. I don't see us stopping at 100.
I don't see it either.
So,
would you answer the second part of this question is, can you describe the journey so far and maybe some goals for podcasts in the future?
Okay, that's a great question for the next one. So, I think it helped us push through the technical challenge more than anything else.
I think for me, it made the podcast a part of my lifestyle. And I think that if you want to really do something different in your life, you have to make it a part of your lifestyle. You can't make it like a chore or a job or something like that. It has to be something that's like, this is what I do now.
Yes.
And that's what sticking to saying that we're going to do 100, I'm like, okay, I'm a podcaster.
I'm going to figure this shit out, right?
Yeah.
I think that the commitment to 100 episodes for me was, I think after I've done 100 hours of podcasting, that I might be a decent podcaster. That we might have a decent product at the end of that.
Yeah.
So, and then we can, make other decisions. But no decision until we got 100 done, and then we just keep modifying and changing and.
Well, I think the other part of it too, now I think about it, was all the other things I'm learning from the podcast, and things I didn't think about learning, like. I can have a conversation about almost anything for a long time, and I can ask some good questions, and I want to ask other people questions. Like I answered it. What do you think about it? Right. So it helps me learn how to practice engaging with people on the fly, which is great in the industry that I'm in because I mean when things open up for COVID, I'm gonna start going out to networking events, start going to expos and stuff like that. Yeah. So being able to talk to people about anything that pops up is super valuable.
Yeah, it definitely helps the ad lib skills, right?
Absolutely.
Quite a bit.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about the next question.
Oh, you read it already?
Yeah. No, I didn't read it. You kind of touched on it already.
Oh, the future of the podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Go for it.
So read the question again, so
this question
everybody's got context.
Can you describe the journey so far and maybe some goals for the podcast for the future?
The journey so far has. I think the biggest struggle in the journey has been we're not as popular as we'd like to be.
Right?
We want the 1 million views, we want all that stuff. Right now we're still, we don't have a lot of subscribers. Hit the subscribe button if you like what we're doing.
Thank you.
We do get a decent amount of views. Not a whole lot, but a decent amount. So
not so much on the podcasting streams, more like on the Facebook Lives where we get most of our views.
Most of our views are, and actually I don't know. Nick keeps those stats, and I'm not. I decided to not really look at the stats right now until we are a little further in.
A lot of people say, don't worry about the stats, just do
right.
you.
So we're just really having a good time. We're talking about things that we like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We get to talk about struggles that we're currently dealing with our own business, or that we're dealing with for a client, that we're trying to overcome a hurdle for a client. So it's good to talk through those things, and we're making a lot of great content that hopefully is usable for many years to come, right?
For a bunch of people, for a bunch of different reasons.
So for what's next on the podcast, I'm super excited. We're working with Nick, our producer, to add a business person spotlight. And it's not going to be part of this 1 hour. What we've decided is that we can talk for an hour pretty easy. And it's actually kind of hard to get anything else in, right?
Yeah.
And then just sometimes it's 3 questions that we get to answer for.
And we leave off 2 questions almost every time.
Yeah, so we always start with 5 questions and we get through 3, maybe 4 and 5. But we're going to add this new segment called the Business Person Spotlight,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to be reaching out to business owners of all kinds, or business people, not even business owners necessarily. It can be managers, GMs,
people in business,
CEOs, VPs, small business owners, small business marketers, or big business marketers. Just everybody, and then doing a 30-minute interview with them. That will be a separate playlist inside our YouTube channel, and it will be it won't be a separate. It'll still be Clicks and Bricks, but it's going to be Clicks and Bricks Business Spotlight.
That's awesome.
And if you want to be part of that, reach out to help or contact. What's our email address? Info Clicks and Bricks?
Okay. Is it Clicks and Bricks at Hosterian?
No. It's something Clicks and Bricks.
What's the email we should have people, if they're interested in the business spotlight, Nick?
Clicksandbricks at Hosterian.com. We have a new website, though. Is it live yet?
We'll be ready next week.
Our new website will be ready next week, and that's clicksandbricks.fm.
TV.
Either one of them will work. So we have a new website coming out in next week.
Right.
Super excited about it. We got a new logo last week. Love it. Sam knocked it out of the park.
Shout out to Sam and Nick.
He
Right.
he made about 40 logos that we shot down.
So
And
you 99 designed them?
yes. And then he made one. But I absolutely love it. I think it in
cool,
one little image says a lot about what we do.
Yes.
Yes. Although I think we should maybe change it and knock out the pie chart, not a microphone there, or podcast logo. But
Sam's like, really?
I think he just agreed with me. that would be a better use of that space. But so we still might make some changes, and that's okay. We're okay with change.
Yeah, change
moving forward. So I'm super excited about that, and I'm going to do a selfless plug here for a second.
Okay.
I'm working on starting my new podcast, and I'm hoping to have it up late May, and that's going to be Autism Is, and autismis.com,
Nice.
And it's going to be specifically about raising an autistic child in today's world, and it's going to cater more towards the dads, even though we can talk to moms, but just because I'm in a lot of dad groups for autistic children.
You are a dad. So.
I'm a dad. I can speak on the dad perspective a lot better. So that podcast is going to be coming out hopefully late May. I'm still working on the website. I'm going to launch that with the website and everything. So one of the things that gave me the confidence to go ahead and move forward was doing this podcast.
Nice.
Right. So I already know a lot of this stuff, and as an operations guy, I love reusing things.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I get to use a lot of the same technology, a lot of the stuff, and do 2 things with the same amount of.
Who's going to be your
resources.
producer?
I don't know yet. I might self-produce and because I'm going to shoot late on Monday nights. It's going to be like a 9:30. It's going to be like a 9 or 10 p.m. podcast live on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave the gym at like 8 o'clock on Monday nights.
So on your way home.
So I'll come in, stop at the studio, and just kick it up and go live. Because I want to really, if I can interact with other dads, their kids got to be asleep.
That's true.
So I wanted to have that kind of, wind down.
Cater to your audience.
Cater to the audience. So
Good
that's
call.
kind of the concept that I'm working with. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's going to be a lot of interview stuff. It's going to be talking with a lot of Zoom calls and things like that.
Trying to help people get through their issues they're having I bet a lot.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to help anybody or not. I'm going to try. I can give them my perspective, right? I've got a nonverbal autistic son. He's going to be 10 in about 3 weeks. So I definitely have some experience with those challenges. And I've learned more from that kid at 10 years than I've learned from anybody else in my entire life.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
With no words.
With no words.
Right.
No words.
That's
Talking
deep.
about learning how to grow some patience. So
we all can use a little bit of help with that.
Yes. So
that's awesome.
That's my story.
Man.
That's the path of the podcast and where it's brought me personally a little bit.
It's real now. People know about it.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for a while. I've had the name Autism Is for a long time, and and really the whole concept of autism is question mark. We really don't know what the hell this problem is.
Yeah.
So, but is it an evolution? Is it? But that's a different topic. That's a whole different podcast. If you get me going.
If you want that, you go check out the podcast, and you'll get that conversation.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we're halfway through the show, so let's go ahead and take this moment here for Tech History.
I don't think we have a sponsor this week.
No sponsor this week?
No sponsor for Tech History.
All right, so that spot is open. So if you're looking for a place to sponsor, get your name out.
Absolutely.
Let
Or
us know.
Hosterian, right? If you're looking for a website, Hosterian can sponsor anything we want.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for a website or you need help with social media marketing or your Google My Business page, if your website's broken, you just need help, give us a call, 314-216-2020, right?
2040.
2040.
2040.
Okay.
All right. So this week in tech history, April 30th, 1993, World Wide Web made public domain. The source code for the World Wide Web protocol is released into the public domain, making it freely available to anyone without licensing fees. The decision to make the World Wide Web. That's all I said.
Okay, so let me read this a little bit. So the source code of the World Wide Web protocol, WWW, is released into public domain. So I'm assuming what this really means is what we know today as Apache. So WWW, World Wide Web Protocol, that to me, that means the web server, right? I think.
I was going to lean on you for this one.
Yeah, so this is this is a little vague, so we'll have to jump on Dustin for it a little bit. So 1993, WWW, the internet's already out in 93, right? Browsers are already out in 93. So this makes it public domain. Prior to that, the companies that had access to internet were universities.
It was like intro.
AOL.
Type stuff, right?
Yeah, well, they had AOL, right? You could buy, but AOL would spend a lot of money on having proprietary internet, routers and switches and stuff. So I'm guessing this is the time that it goes from university and military owned to now anybody can get it, right?
Without having like a login or something.
Well, no, this time frame, 93, we're still at probably, in 1993, we might have a 14.4 VFlex modem, right? So that is right around the time, right before 56K comes out, the 56K modem, that was dial-up in 93, right? It was a modem. Okay. It was dial-up, but it was really slow. It was very, very slow.
Yeah, it was trash.
It was, baud rates, not even Ks at some point, right? So it was great for text stuff. So this was when Merck was really big then.
I didn't mess with that.
Yeah, so it was basically like black and white screens of text, and you could talk back and forth, but it was slow, right? You would say something, you wait a couple minutes, and somebody would say something back. So more forum kind of stuff than live chat. And I just don't know what the WWW protocol is. To me, that is port 80 and port 443. That's what that would mean, and that's web servers and websites, WWW protocol. I just wish this had more
context to it.
More context to it, like more technical data, so I knew
That's
exactly
what I read.
what
I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's a hard one to talk about. But 93 is a huge year for the internet, right? This is when we really start making turns. 93, I probably had internet in my house for a while still, but I remember prior to that, in 93, I was a sophomore, or I was either a junior or senior in high school at the time. And prior to that, I had to take my phone off the hook and set it in this cradle that was hooked up to the computer, and then I could dial in over the dial tone stuff. But it was literally like rotary phone or push button phone, and then it would dial in, and it was horribly slow. And then 93 is probably about the time that I got my first. I think it was a 14 4K modem. So it was
beast back then.
It was beast. And then I think 96 I had a V-Flex modem, 56K. And I had dual band modems, so I had 2 modems running at the same time. So I had to have 2 phone lines on my house. So I got 128K.
See,
the ISD lines come out, T1s and all that stuff, but
that's what we had. I remember around this time frame, my stepdad, he worked for SBC. It was SBC at the time.
right, Southwestern Bell,
Yeah.
Southwestern Bell Communications or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And we got a separate phone line just for the internet because he had to have access all the time. And then like I knew that when everyone went to sleep, it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I could use both.
Yeah, you had double speed.
You had double my speed. I'm like,
yeah.
oh man, this thing's it's moving now, right? I remember those time frames. Crazy.
So this is an important time too because I think this is not when Ma Bell gets broke up, but it's shortly after that, right?
Yeah.
That the government steps in and says, okay, Ma Bell, you're too big. You got to break this up, and then AT&T's born, Southwestern Bell's born, all these different little sub Lex and CLEX.
We thought we were moving to Texas.
Yeah,
that's what AT&T.
I'm out of the telco business. I do some VoIP, but I don't do any traditional.
I mean, most people are moving to VoIP anyway.
PTSN anymore, which is publicly switched telephone network. PSTN.
Man, I mean, a lot of businesses are moving over to the VoIP or voice over IP.
Yes.
A lot of businesses are doing that.
Absolutely, it's super easy today, right? And I don't know anybody that has traditional phones anymore. It's very few and far between.
The game is
They're hard to buy. Like it's really
for starters.
So fax lines over the internet are a little clunky still. You have to have some conversion still because
we use Metro Fax. That was a good one. Yeah, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of great online services, but if you want a traditional fax machine, we deal with some lawyers and stuff, and they have to have their traditional fax machines. And we buy old school analog or digital lines now. They don't even sell the analog lines anymore. But the lines that come in and drop in and give you old school dial tone instead of the VoIP.
Yeah.
Which it's like $65 a month now to have a traditional telephone line in your house.
Crazy.
Yeah, or in a business. So
super crazy.
65 on the low side. Like a lot of them are like $115, $120 a month.
Well, you can get VoIP for like
$25,
15, $20. And you
get eFax for,
and text on the line, do all kinds of.
I don't know about you, but for eFax, I fax so little that whenever I need it, I create the free 14-day trial and then cancel it when I'm done. And I find the next eFax company to do the next one. I have no need to fax anything anymore.
Oh, you have so many emails, man. You just use a different email. You're good.
Yeah, so we're fine.
All right, let's keep it moving. We're moving along here to Vince. And Vince asks, can you both give me an example of how setting goals in your life has helped you? Do you think setting goals in your personal life translates into your business?
It's probably not the best question for me because I don't set goals, but I'll just translate that into milestones.
You did? Oh, okay.
Right. That's what I do more. So I think milestones are just loose goals, I think.
Goals without the pressure.
Yeah. So it is pretty big for me. I do it a lot. I have long-term milestones, and I have really short-term milestones. When I do it, like most things in my life, I sit down and I make a list of what needs to be accomplished. Normally it's anywhere between 3 and 300 line items, and then I create another tab that's done, and I move them to the done. And when it's all gone, then it's gone. And in some projects, I even create pivot tables so I know what percentage I'm done. Right, at all times, and which really for me, what motivates me is seeing movement on a project.
Oh yeah.
Right, so if I can create inside my Google Sheet, I have the 2 tables, or I have 1 table and I have the status of done, not done, all that stuff. Then I can create a quick little pivot table, and I always know what percentage of done I am.
And so seeing that percentage number is what does it for you.
Yeah, the most profitable word in the dictionary is, don't you?
Done.
Nobody gets paid until you're done.
Right.
So you don't get paid for almost done work. You don't get paid for 99% done work. You get paid for 100% done work.
Right.
So that, to me, setting that percentage really helps motivate me.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
and,
cool.
and get to see it move, especially when you're talking about projects that are, you know, and I'm saying it's going to sound like it's ridiculous, right? But some projects have like 1,000 tasks in them,
Yes.
right? So when you look at that project that has 1,000 tasks,
It's daunting sometimes.
right? I mean, I guess getting that done's the goal, right? That's the only goal that there is done. And you have a whole bunch of milestones. So it's kind of like, hey guys, how long is it going to take us to get to 25%, right? And then you can do fun stuff like, okay, if I run into a problem on one of these tasks, I might be able to set it to the side, and I can keep moving on these other tasks. But if each task had its own set of goals, I would get to that task and I might fail there, right? I might just get so hung up at that point in the process that I fail. But if I can go, oh, I can set this over here and start working on other stuff. What else can I work on?
Yeah.
Then I can go back to that or take another teammate or do more research on it and then get that done.
There you go.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I do like to set.
What about for your personal life, though? Is that the same thing for your personal
I
life?
do, yeah, I do the same thing for my personal life.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
it absolutely carries over for you then.
if there's a line at all between my personal life and my business life, it's very blurry, right?
There
I
you
mean,
go.
I don't know how to differentiate them, right? Like next Saturday night, I'm going to the fights. Well, I'm working. I'm the announcer in the ring, right? do I consider that work? I mean, yeah, it's work. Somebody's paying me to perform, but I mean I would do that for free anyway. Like it's like what are you talking like? Oh, I get to be in a boxing ring, and because I can't fight right now, I get to be the announcer. This is amazing, right? I might just change my whole boxing path and just do the announcing because I don't get hit, and it's still a lot of fun, like getting up there and doing that. So, my line between personal and business is just so blurred because everything I do has some kind of business behind it.
I mean, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, if you're mixing your personal with your business, it's a good way to enjoy doing what you do.
Well, I'll tell you a little tidbit that I got from this is Grant Cardone. He's not one of my favorite people to follow, but he was on the other day and he was talking about buying versus business. And he does not spend his money on products and services. He only spends his money on business. And his example was, if I go to the store and buy a belt and put it on, that's just a liability. It's not an asset. It's just something I bought. It cost me money. But if I make a Grant Cardone belt, everything associated with it is now a write-off. I didn't lose any money. Even if the business fails and doesn't succeed, I didn't spend money. I invested money.
That's a really good point.
Right.
Really
so.
good point.
And I don't spend my time. I invest my time, and I invest my time on things that give me happiness, and if that can also bring me money, great.
Got it. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm with that, man.
Yeah.
I'm totally with that. I used to believe in that, and I just didn't really stay focused on really staying true to that. And I'm actually now going back to talking to my wife about it the other day.
Right.
You know, when I talk about setting goals for business and personal, for me, what it's been like is that I believe it absolutely correlates, and I can take that. And I guess the biggest thing really for me is just having a plan. Like when I go to the gym, I worked out better in the gym when I had a plan for what I wanted, and I tracked what I did, so I knew what I did before and I knew what I needed to change.
Right.
And when I got better sales when I started doing that.
Right.
Started getting more sales when I started doing that. So when I was not doing that, obviously it didn't work it out as well.
Right.
Because if you can't measure it, you can't do anything about it.
If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
You can't manage it, right?
Right.
So,
I'm that way in business a lot, but on the fitness side, and this is why I'm a little chubby right now, is because I excel in fitness when I enjoy doing what I'm doing, which is why I own a gym, because I want to have a gym that I can do the kind of thing that I like to do.
I think
I just haven't been able to do it in a long time.
If you like doing it.
Yeah.
You know
So,
what I'm saying?
I mean, I love boxing, so that's why I have a boxing gym, right? Like,
And that's awesome. That's
So-
awesome. I mean, could you imagine how many people love to do something like that, but they couldn't afford to go buy a gym?
well, I couldn't either, right? It's a decision you have to make. You have to make the decision to be a business owner. I think you have to make the decision, and then just move forward. And you're going to have so many obstacles.
Yes.
You're going to have, if you open a business,
You have to be a
promise
little bit crazy.
you will have blood, sweat, and tears. Guaranteed at some point in the game.
Maybe all on the same day.
Yes, absolutely, right? You're going to have to invest your time, your money, your energy, all of those things.
Yes.
And sometimes you're going to want to give up, but you just can't, right? And you don't even say it out loud.
Just take a break. Maybe you need a break for a second.
Yeah.
Right? To reset.
Yeah, and then there's other stuff that I enjoy doing. I go do those things, then I come back to it, right? So,
Right.
um,
Yeah, so I guess that I would definitely say they correlate completely. I know that me personally, the goals I made when it comes to fitness has given me the confidence to do other things. So when I'm having like bad days or I'm having something's not working out the way that I wish it would work out, I'm like, man, I didn't think I can put 95 pounds in my waist and do a pull up.
right.
Right. So I mean, I can do this if I just focus in on it and practice and I train myself and get rid of that negative self-talk.
Right.
Right. I have to literally tell myself that my internal dialogue is just a radio station. So I change the channel with it and say something I like.
Yeah.
Cool story, bro. Change channel. And that's part of like my goal setting to keep myself focused, and that's why I try to go to the gym, make it a lifestyle. And I don't have a goal for the gym besides be healthy and happy, be the best version of myself.
Right.
So I got to go to the gym to do that. Right. Like people make fun of you waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like, I feel good to do that though.
Yeah, they make fun of it because they're jealous.
Yes.
Because they can't do it, right? That's envy. That's not making fun of, I think, right?
I mean, that's how I took it. I took it
Right.
like that, absolutely. But they were trying to make it funny when they said it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I got it.
A good friend of mine, Joe, he was he went to Arnold's a few years ago, right?
Arnold's?
The bodybuilding competition.
Oh.
And he talks about you should exercise whenever you like to exercise. I'm a late night exerciser. I don't go to sleep until like between midnight and 2. So I like to wake up between 8 and 10, right? So I like to exercise at nighttime, 6:30, 7 o'clock.
There you go.
Kind of deal. But he said, when he was explaining to me why I should, and he tried to talk me into waking up at 4 in the morning to work out, he's like, because there's nobody can tell you what to do then, right? Nobody's stealing your time. Nobody's doing that stuff. I'm like, well, nobody's doing that to me anyway at 6:30, right? Because when I go to the gym, my phone goes in the locker. Nobody's bothering me. So
See, I track everything on my phone.
yeah, I
So
know.
I have mine right by me the whole time.
Yeah, I put my phone in the locker. I can't have it. I cannot have my phone
It's a distraction.
with me at the gym because if my phone's here, it rings. I answer it 100% of the time. I've had that mantra since I was a young kid, right? If I'm making cold calls and I'm investing that time, if one of those boomerangs comes back, I got to be there, or I've just wasted my time and energy on doing all the cold calls. So if my phone is by me and I hear it ring, I answer it no matter what. And it drives my wife crazy because I answer spam calls. I'm like, well, I don't know if it's a spam call or not. Right? I could be somebody that's saying, hey, I got on the spam list. How do I get off? Right? I don't know.
answering those calls too, though.
I do like messing with them.
Depending on how you're
Yeah.
feeling that day, you like messing
Yeah.
with them, man. It's pretty
Sometimes
funny.
I hang up. Sometimes I just like go off and talk to him for a little while. So
It's really funny. We probably should record one of those phone calls one of these days.
yeah, they're pretty good.
Awesome. Let's keep it moving, Vince. Hopefully that answered your question, okay? So Marcus says, do you think that setting goals for your business is important, and will it make a difference for your company? Why or why not?
Goals, milestones, whatever you have to set some, right?
You have to have some idea what you want.
Right.
That's what I do like about goals. If you have a goal, you're pretty set on, I want something. And if you can't define what you want, there's no way you're going to get there.
Right. I think the fundamental goals, what you want to do with the business, 2 things that I recommend anytime you're starting a business. 1, make your mission statement, which is kind of a goal, right? It's
like an objective.
It's an objective. Hey, this is why I'm
This
doing
is
the
what
things
we're
that I'm
doing, right?
doing,
We're
right?
trying to get to that point.
It's not necessarily a goal, but your mission statement is going to tell you what goals to set maybe.
It's gonna center you.
Right. The other one that I really love is a SMAC, and that's systematic, methodical, and consistent rule set. Posterior, we have 16 rules in our SMAC, and they're like very fundamental things, but there's going to come a time when you're like, hey, I'm at a crossroads. How should I proceed? And your mission statement and your SMAC should tell you how to proceed in that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like our rules in our SMAC are we will save 1% of daily revenue until we have 3 months of operating capital in the bank. Right, that's one of our systematic, methodical, and consistent rules. Right, I have 16 of those that I run all of my businesses by.
I never called those smacks in like other times. Like the company values, what I always called it.
Yeah, but values can change with the tide, right? Values can change with the staff. Values can change. Our values in society are changing pretty massively right now, and like I have some very core fundamental values that aren't rule sets, right? I value pleasure, I value happiness, I value wealth, and I value love, right? Those are my values in my life. So, I mean,
and that dictates a lot of stuff that you do, right? I mean, it comes off in the things that you do.
Well, I rate pleasure pretty high.
Right? I think anyone that knows you knows that.
It's probably my number one value because it creates happiness, it creates joy, and if I'm happy and joyful, I promise you, everybody around me is happy and joyful too, right? So I'm gonna make sure that they are, and
everybody's happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy.
Right. So, and if you're not, I'll tickle you. Right? It'll get there, right? We'll get there, and so those are the things that I value in life. So. I have a hard time calling them the company values because company values are like customer first, those kinds of things, right? And not that customer first should ever change. Sometimes your definition of what a customer is might need to change, right? But these are more objective things than subjective, right?
That makes sense to me then.
Yeah, and I think values are more objective and can change
absolutely
throughout your.
Well, I mean, the values are more subjective, so they can change because of that.
Yeah.
Right. So objective is like this is pretty definitive.
Right, and I think that values can be interpreted, right? And SMAC rules, there should be zero room for interpretation.
Right.
You want to write these rules that when you're scratching your head. You're like, man, what should I do? What vendor should I pay? Right? And you look at your SMAC and you say, you pay all your vendors, right? You go, okay, well, maybe I have to pay each vendor
a little bit less,
but everybody gets paid.
Everyone gets paid.
Right? And then we'll catch up next month or something, right? So those are the kinds of rules that you can make that are just hard and fast that when you're in a tough situation, you can go back to them. And you wrote them hopefully in a good spot in your mind, right?
Well, write them down. Just get them out of your mind and write them down.
Yes.
Keep them in your mind, but write them down and share that with your staff, right? And you should probably even have like relatively a couple conversations throughout the year to make sure people are following them and you're executing on them. It's almost like, I guess, like in some ways to me, running a business is just like having kids. Sometimes, like you have to do the same thing.
Oh, it's a child.
Oh yeah,
it's a child that never listens to you. Right?
Yeah.
It just runs on its own.
Yeah. But having that conversation, I think, is really powerful.
So I think what you just said, though, write it down. That's huge across the board. I think that's huge for business goals and personal goals. So
something about writing it down that makes it you get connected to it.
Well, and because you lie to yourself, right? We all do.
Yes.
So if we don't write it down, then later we can be like, oh, well, that's not really what I said, or that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
So when you write it down and you really try to write it down in a way that cannot be subjective, like this is what I'm doing, right? It's not lose weight, it's lose 60 pounds or lose 10 pounds.
Right.
It's not make more money, it's how do I make $1,000 a month more than I am now?
Yes.
Right? It's those kinds of things that you want to put down on paper and then create your plan on how you're going to get to that.
Right.
But if you write that down, then you can't argue with yourself later. It is what it is. It's on and I use WordPress for ours, right?
Yeah.
And I create a WordPress post and I put it in a category because we have all kinds of things for different kinds of business.
There's a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
Yeah.
So yeah, write it down. What's this? Marcus.
Or type it down in a Google Doc. However you do it.
Just put it somewhere where you can see it and read it.
Yeah.
And I think those were really good. Really good. Your two examples there. One was to have your mission statement, and two was to have your SMAC. And I think it's absolutely key and clutch to make sure that when you're writing that smack, make sure it is objective. Leave all subjectivity out of it, and you will be very, very happy with that. Because there's gonna be time frames when you're gonna try to make it subjective. And just like you said in your example, I don't have enough to pay all my vendors. Well, I got to pay them all something because that's one of my rules, right? So it helps you make decisions so much easier. And you would see, like, business is hard enough, like, because life's already hard enough. So if anything you can do to make it a little bit easier for yourself, why not just do it?
Yeah.
Set yourself up for success, okay? So we got time for one more question, and this is from Kurt. And Kurt says, do you believe that you can successfully set goals for others, or do you think they need to be self-motivated to do so? In business and in life. Do you believe you can successfully set goals for others, or do you think you need to be self-motivated to do so?
I would say, like most things in life, it depends on the person. But that being said, if they're the wrong person, then you cannot set goals for them. And I cannot teach a fish to climb trees, and I cannot teach squirrels to swim underwater. So it depends on the person, right? If you set goals for a fish to swim 100 miles today, might get it done. If you set a goal for the squirrel to collect 100 nuts today, might get done. But if you set a goal for the squirrel to swim 100 miles today, probably won't happen. Yes. So I think it depends on the person. I don't believe anybody on the planet other than my wife can set a goal for me. Right? Just because I don't think it'll work.
I just don't believe it. I'm like, whatever, man. You don't set my goals.
Yeah, I'm not I'm a combative person by nature. I'm not huge on authority figures. I kind of do my own thing. So, other people setting goals for me probably won't work. Nobody's ever tried.
I'm sure people have tried to set goals for you. You just didn't listen.
I'm sure my school teachers tried to, like in school.
You said on the show before you were a terrible employee, so you had goals set, but you were a terrible employee, so you didn't listen to follow them.
Like I remember one of my first part-time jobs was at Schnucks, like real jobs, where I was like getting a paycheck, and they had this rule that you could only push 5 carts at a time for safety. Right? And now I see my plan in place everywhere because I could do like 20 to 30 carts, and I took a hook and I tied it to the back one. I put rope down, and I could just walk them down and steer the front one. And they're like, "What are you doing? You can only do 5. OSHA says 5." And I'm like, "I don't care what OSHA says. Like I can do 20. Why don't you let me do 20?"
Yeah.
And I got in trouble for it all the time.
Crazy.
Right? And like, I want to be more efficient. I want to be more productive because if I can do this, then I can get in there and bag more groceries. I can do all this stuff. So I learned at a very early age, I'm not a union employee by far. I'm not a great employee. I'm a really bad union employee. And I'm horrible at big corporations where there's OSHA rules. I mean, the guy that drilled that hole in his hand this week. I probably should have docked more OSHA rules.
That's fucking hilarious.
Even here, I don't.
Funny, man.
I'm the security officer for the company, but I'm not the compliancy officer. I have Chris and Luke. They do all the compliancy stuff just because I hate it so much. Like doing all of that stuff, I hate it. So I don't want to do it. I have to do a little bit of it, but
just enough to get by.
Well, and then I have them to do it. And they come to me for help if they need it.
Yeah. So
I can get into that mindset, but it's not where I like to live on a daily basis by far.
For me, I agree with you. I think it absolutely depends on the person, and I think what it depends on is what motivates that person, because people have different motivating factors of why they do what they do.
Carrots and sticks.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the first part of it, and the second part of it, I would think that with that part being said, I don't think anyone can set anyone else's goal because you don't know what's important to them. Now I can say there's a company goal, and then if you want to be here, you have to hit that, right? And then at that point, there's a conversation.
But I think that's an expectation.
Yeah, it's not really a goal, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just this is what's expected of you.
So what I like to when I had employees underneath me, how I set goals for them is they were a part of the conversation of the goal, right? I'm like, what do you want? Because they're all sales jobs. So I'm like, so what do you want to earn? Why is that important to you? Right? And okay, before you do that, this is what you need. Boom, 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 boom. If you do this for this amount of time, then you can get your goal. So it's really not my goal. It's really just helping them get motivated and connected to whatever they care about. And they're picking their own goal.
Well, I guess that so in the coaching world, I guess I do set goals for my kids on a regular basis, right? But I don't set it for them. I do exactly what you said, right?
Yeah.
I got this kid. Can I say his name? His first name, Julio.
Yeah.
So I trained this kid Julio, and he's a little socially awkward, and so we'll do an exercise, and we'll set a baseline, and I'm like, okay, how many weeks until you want to double that, right? And what I found is when I ask him that, he's more aggressive than I would have been. He fails a lot at those goals.
But he comes back and he tries, though.
But he comes back and he tries, and he's getting better each time. So
I mean, that's all you can really ask for. That's progress, man. That is your definition right there, moving forward. He's moving forward.
Keeps moving forward. So I'm not mad at him when he doesn't hit his goal, and I guess they're better called milestones in my book.
And that's why I like having that person be a part of it. If they're a part of it, it's going to help them stay focused and connected to it, so they're actually going to want to get it done.
Yeah. So I think the advice there is that if you need to in business be setting goals for staff members and stuff like that, you know the expectations, and you got to set the expectation for what their job is.
Right.
But then to set goals, that should be something you guys do together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't set it for them. Have them be a major part of that conversation.
Yes.
And just guide them through it. And that way, it even changes the employee-boss relationship.
Well, I think what I've found is that if you ask them to say, hey, what is your goal? And they're going to be more aggressive than you would be on themselves generally, because people are their own worst critics. So even then, if you back it off a little bit, then you can get some anxiety off of them, and then maybe actually hit it, right? Because hitting those things is important to do.
Feels good.
And not hitting them too frequently,
that's bad.
Causes a very bad situation.
Yeah, and that could easily become a cancer in your business, which you definitely don't want.
All right. I think we need to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's our time today.
So if you want to reach out to me, 314-370-2871 is my text line. It's my community. Jump on there. Send anything. You can just send a happy face, a smiley emoji, whatever you want, or ask a question, and I'll get to you. I'm not the fastest on responses in that system, but I will get back to you eventually.
Absolutely. And then my text line is 314-216-2040. If you have questions that you have about business, topics that we've already talked about, you have a question about it, or maybe a new topic you want to talk about, definitely let me know by text. And no matter where you are listening to this podcast, please subscribe and rate us the way you feel we should be rated, okay? We love to hear your feedback. Love to hear it.
Subscribe. Tell your friends.
Tell them all. Well, the ones in business.
Or wants to start a business. Get to work.
And make it count.